Here's the thing I tell everybody. The most important person in the equation of investing in real estate is you. So those people are gonna ask, who are you talking about, right, Welby? I'm talking about the qualified buyer and or the investor. We are the most important person in the entire equation. So you better respect me. My attitudes change like that when I walk in the room. Yeah. This would not be happening if I'm not willing to take on the risk that I'm about to sign.
Yeah. This is the Better Life Podcast with Brandon Turner.
And Cam Cathcart.
I have no idea why I said it that way. What's up, Cam?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is your favorite memory of us together?
Oh, that is putting me on the spot. I got it, though. I got it.
Okay.
One night, our wives went out on girls' night, and we watched the kids, and we ordered pizza, and they swam in the pool, and we brought out your projector, we had the projector up, and they watched a movie, and they snuggled with us, and you and I just sat and hung out and talked all night.
That was a good night.
That was a great night.
That was a great night. And it cost like $5. I mean, like great memories don't have to cost a lot of money.
That was incredible. Because we've also had some expensive nights at Chiave dinners.
We've had
Mama's Fish House.
Yes, we've had some very expensive nights. I feel like we're an old married couple talking. All right, everybody. So today, I'm excited to talk about our guest, Welby. So Welby is a buddy of mine who kills it in a number of different real estate kind of strategies. And one thing I love about Welby is how, what's the word, real and passionate and not sugarcoating anything. Like, he's just like, this is what sucks about real estate, and this is what's hard, and this is how you actually win, and here's what all the gurus are lying to you with. He's just very bold with it, and he teaches it, talks about it. He's a rock star, so he's great.
I loved it. He was passionate. And I love that about him.
I do too. I love that. So before we get to that, though, let's get to today's memory. What's the greatest memory of the last week with your kids?
So
that's a segment of the show I just invented.
What?
That's a new segment of the show I just invented.
Greatest memory of the last week with my kids. So
last
my kids,
week.
They love to steal my phone and run around and take pictures. And so I wanted to give them an opportunity to do more of that. Okay. And so I bought them both these little like unicorn digital cameras. And so we have started taking those and going for walks, and they take pictures.
That's awesome.
And they love it. They're so proud of the pictures they take, and they're actually pretty terrible. But I don't tell them
Your
that.
kids suck, man, at picture taking. I'll tell them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can be the one to break it to them. Like, you guys are never going to make it unless you learn the rule of thirds and all of these other different
they got to learn
rules.
They got to learn this stuff.
Colors,
amateurs.
But it is fun, and I think it's fun to like let your kids be passionate about something.
Yeah.
And every time I see my kids excited about something, I'm like, all right,
lean into it.
I'm going to be excited about it too, no matter what it is. I hate photography, but I'm in.
I have a quick tip for you about that. Because I bought Rosie now 2 cameras and lost 2 cameras. Put an air tag on it, like an Apple air tag, because like they will lose them. They'll set them down while they're taking a picture, like picture, set it down on the ground, then walk away.
I know we will lose them, and instead of buying like the $130 ones, I bought the $29.99 ones.
So technically, the Apple AirTag is like the same price as the camera. Exactly. But anyway, all right. Well, speaking of losing it, you're gonna lose your mind on today's episode of Welby. So let's get to today's show with Welby Accely. Welby Accely, dude. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, dude. When I heard you were coming out here for this thing, I got pumped because we've talked before a little bit, but I always love following you on social media. Love learning from you, and excited to dig into your story.
I'm honored, and when the opportunity came, I said, "Hey, let's go." So I came a long way, and I'm super excited, and I'm sure we're gonna have a great conversation. So
sweet, man. Well, so I know you. I know you on social media. I know you're a real estate investor. I know you're an educator. I know you got some books coming out, which is pretty exciting. We'll talk about that.
I can't believe that too. I got books coming out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, we'll definitely dig into that today. Yeah. I know you do house flipping. I know you got some multifamily, and you got some buy and hold. But take us back before all of that, before Welby, the real estate investor. Who was Welby?
Well, I'm first generation Haitian American. I'm one of 5 boys that my parents had. I'm a twin as well. I got a twin brother.
Oh, no way.
So for those that are twins, you understand the special bond that you and your twin have.
Seeing real estate too? or no in real estate?
He kisses real estate,
Okay.
but he's the best credit guy in the business.
Oh, cool.
So definitely shout out to him. He has a thriving business repairing credit and setting people up. So I use him for myself within the business as well.
Yeah.
What else? I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, and now I reside in Long Island. That's basically the gist of me. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So were you raised with the idea that like someday you'd get into some finance, real estate, that kind of business world, or?
If you were to talk to my mom would tell you, she would even remind me, I'd be 5, 6 years old, and I would tell my mom I'm going to be rich one day. and then even down to let's say exotic cars, Ferraris, I would tell my mom, hey, Mom, I'm going to get me a Ferrari one day. And of course, you know what parents do. She would just tap me in the back on the top of my head and say, of course, son, you'll do it. And then, you know, by the grace of God and a lot of circumstances in my life, I've been able to achieve, you know, most of what I've desired from childhood, you know. So, that's
amazing. You got that Ferrari?
I got the Ferrari, and I'm actually getting I've had it for a while, and I'm actually trading it in because I'm getting the one. Well, it's not a brand new. I can't. Something about me, I can't buy brand new, but it's a 2 or 3 year old 488 Spider that I'm gonna be getting to. So so it was when I tell you a funny story. When I told my mom this years as a child, and fast forward as an adult. This is when things started getting better for me in the business of real estate that we'll talk about. I finally went and I bought it. I found it in California. I got the car, shipped it to my home and everything. I didn't even know how to drive the car. I jumped in the car, put temporary plates on, and the first thing I wanted to do was go to my mom's house. I get choked up thinking about it. And I went to my parents' house, my mother and father. They're still together now over 50 years. They've been together, right? And I pulled up to the house, and then I went to the door, and I rang the doorbell, and I said, Mom, come in. She's like, Welby, what do you want? I said, Ma, come here. So she comes, and I say, look. And she just choked. She didn't know what it was. She didn't know what it was, but she knew it was something special. And she just choked up and then hugged me and stuff like that. So, you know, I made one of my dreams come true eventually.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into real estate, I'd love to ask a question. What did you see? I mean, for parents being together for 50 years, what did you see them do right? Like, what led to
Listen, man, listen, I don't want to make it sound, their relationship is special, you know, and then in our culture, especially, you know, my father just turned 80, my mom just turned 70, so in our culture, at least at that generation, you don't break up. So I don't want to make it sound as if they had this magic and then they just didn't. It's just you don't divorce, and that's what happened. So we grew up in a 2-parent household, me and my brothers. It kept us in line. I was terrified of my parents, especially my father, more than a police officer. So that kept us in line in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, my eldest one got in trouble, and we probably could talk on that because that was partially what inspired me with real estate as well, because he got in trouble and got incarcerated and all. Oof. And yeah.
Dang. Well, yeah, I was going to ask you a question. Is like, you know, one of my favorite questions is what struggles have you had to overcome on your journey to get into real estate and wealth?
Well, here's the thing: is that in our discussion that we had before, I didn't realize I was inspired about investing in real estate till I was in my late teens, early 20s. But the seed was planted in my mind at the age of 7 years old. But it didn't sprout yet. I didn't realize that. And I always talk about my godfather. And my godfather, we grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, Canarsie Projects. That's where we grew up at. So it was if I remember correctly, it was 9 or 10 of us, if I do the math right, maybe a little bit more of us living in a 3-bedroom, small apartment in the projects. So my godfather would come, he's a cousin of my mother, and he would come periodically to come and visit, and then he would also take me and my siblings, and me sometimes by myself, and then we would also go and visit him in Long Island. And Long Island is the suburbs of New York City. And when we would go there, what inspired me was that in living in the projects, my parents was overly protective. So the only thing that we could do when they bought us all bicycles was that we could only ride our bikes in the cul-de-sac of the project. So you could only just ride in a circle. That's all we could do. So when we would go visit my godfather, now he's living in the suburbs, driveway, he dressed nicely, fresh haircut and everything. And we would go to his home, or he would take me to his home and my brothers to his home, and then he would say, everybody get out the house, just go. So we would be able to just run free. And the thing that always planted in my mind was the bike, that we was able to ride our bikes in the street and just run free. And then from that, I would listen and remember the conversation that was happening. My godfather was a broker. He had his own brokerage, and he owned 2 or 3 rental properties. And that's what inspired me at the age of 7, but I didn't realize the significance of it. He always was dressed nice. He always drove a nice car. His wife stayed at home. But it wasn't until later on in life, as my late teens, early 20s, when I'm trying to figure what I'm going to do. I'm in John Jay College thinking I'm going to be an attorney, and I'm realizing it's not really what I want to do, and I'm trying to figure things out. And then my childhood is replaying in my mind, and then the real estate started just sprouting in my mind. But I didn't start touching real estate for at least maybe another decade after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier before we started recording that I wanted to bring up here because we didn't get to talk about it. Something about your sight, like you're seeing double. Like what's the deal with that?
So, okay, what a lot of people don't know, so I wanted to save it to be on this podcast, right? So, me and my twin brother, I should say my family trait, some of our family members would be born cross-eyed. So what happened was me and my brother, my twin brother, wasn't born cross-eyed. But when we were born, my parents, at the age of 3-4 months, sent me and the rest of my siblings back to Haiti to live with my grandmother. So in between that time, this is when my parents, as first, immigrants, just like what we see in today, trying to figure things out. So we stayed in Haiti for a good, I'd say 3 years, where my parents didn't see us for 3 years. And then they shipped us back, brought us back to America, and we moved. This is when we moved into Brooklyn. And then where we first initially moved, I didn't know this, but I found out later that the property burned down, the apartment that we had burned down, and then this is how we ultimately ended up in the projects. So me and my brother would always play this game of crossing your eyes. Remember the game Crossing Your Eyes? And what does parents tell you? Stop doing that, because one day your eyes are going to get stuck.
Yes.
Remember that, right? So we were at the daycare center, and one day we come home, and my parents is telling me, especially my mother's telling me, stop crossing your eyes. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm not doing anything. She said, stop crossing your eyes. And she turns to my twin brother, stop crossing your eyes. And we weren't crossing our eyes. Our eyes literally got crossed and got stuck.
Really?
Literally. So fast forward that, living in the projects, my parents, we got to see our parents busting their tail to make the American dream come true of becoming homeowners. All right, my father was a messenger in the hospital, and he did that for his entire career. My mother was a CNA, or a nurse's aide, in the hospital, the same hospital, for their entire year. Regular, hardworking people, okay? So one day my mother tells us that they were looking to buy in a home, and then we were going to eventually buy a house one day. Because of that, they wanted us to get a new start. So what they didn't want us to do is to move into a new neighborhood with our eyes crossed. So we had surgery. So when we had the surgery, the doctors gave us just let my parents know that after the surgery, what's going to happen, we're going to get your eyes fixed, and they're going to be straightened like you see now. But the after effects is that you're going to see double for a couple of weeks, and then it fixes themselves. So 30, 40 years later, well, not 40 years, 30 years later, I still see double. Really? Till this day. So with that, when we talk about adversity, my entire life, I'm seeing 4 of you.
Yeah. Wild.
2 brand new right now.
That's wild.
So with that, I was able to get a driver's license, but I had to lie about it. Because if I told the drivers, to get on my license and I see double, it would be a problem. I even got as far as I became a licensed welder, a Class B welder. Part of that, with your eyes, you needed to have good vision. I had to lie on the paperwork that I see just fine, but all the while I seen double. So even so my entire life I see double. Even till this day I see double, but nobody ever knew that. But I never used it as a crutch. I never used it as an excuse. But no one ever knew that. So like I said, till this day I still see double.
Is your twin brother? Did his get fixed?
He didn't have no side effects of the surgery. He sees straight and with no issues. So really? I was the only one that was left with the dilemma. But I worked around it.
My oldest daughter is going to have surgery like that at some point, because she's got really bad eyes, and she has a lazy eye. And did
Rosie had
have
it
that
too. Yeah,
surgery?
Rosie had a surgery.
So
She had
when
one of my kids did.
okay.
yeah, which I think they've got that dialed in now.
They do.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare to have a problem. Now, one of my friends went in for surgery. His daughter went in for surgery and then came out paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh no!
Was that the eye
Yeah,
shot?
yeah.
Oh, don't tell me that.
I know,
Oh,
but that was I talked to the doctor because I'm like freaked out because my daughter had the same thing, right? And the doctor was like, "Look, it's 1 in 100,000 that have some kind of problem."
That's still.
It's like
That's
it was my buddy that had it. Like it was
That's
my buddy's
pretty
kid.
severe. Yeah, that's pretty severe.
But she got her body back. So.
Thank God.
Did
Thank God,
Rosie
thank
ever
God.
have to wear an eye patch?
She did, yeah. She did for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
it didn't
know
work. Yeah, what they do, they do the eye patch for little kids right now, right? And they put it on the good eye.
Yep, that's how
and
it
it makes it makes the bad eye work
They
harder.
tried that with us too, but it never worked.
Yeah, it didn't work for Rosie either. I think I don't know the metaphor yet, but there's a really good metaphor with that of like you cover up the good eye so you can see with the bad.
Yeah.
Like what's the eye patch in your life, right? Like there's some kind of metaphor
like
there.
that,
That sounds
Man.
deep, but it's probably not.
Dude, because Riley wore an eye patch, and we all got family eye patches.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, because she was so nervous about going out with them, so we'd go out all wearing eye patches.
Yeah,
I felt like
yeah,
such a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like,
We just kept
who is
telling
this
Rosie she was like the
family?
pirate. Like
Yeah,
this is our
that's a
pirate
good idea,
costume.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I don't know if it worked, but anyway. So how did that adversity going through that with the eye and continue with it? Do you think that helped you or hurt you on your way to become a real estate investor?
I think it all played a part for me, because nothing, the thing is that I'm not the type of person that wants to have that struggle story, because everybody got a struggle story, right? And then how you just came up through the struggle and I would have preferred not. But I think that it creates a lot of a character for you for going through that. So then, even with the eye situation, and then just growing up, we weren't rich. My parents, we never went hungry. The utilities were never cut off. We never experienced that, but we never had the extras, And I always had the belief that we're in America. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. This is the greatest country on this planet. And I don't know what it is, but something inside me, I always had a burning desire that I can do something. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to figure it out. But then in our culture, Haitian culture, you're going to either be a doctor, an attorney, an engineer, a nurse. If you're not in one of those 4 or 5 fields, as far as they're concerned, you're a bum. That's the type of pressure that we had. I also talk about, given the fact that we didn't have much, what drove me to was something small as little as haircuts. Me and my brothers would get 1 haircut a year, literally. So I would be wild looking all year. We would get 1 pair of sneakers for the year. And in wearing those 1 pair of sneakers, those sneakers were the sneakers that you wore to go to school. Those are the sneakers that you played gym with. Those are the sneakers that you had to do house chores with and everything. So you don't have to worry about not even half the year will be through yet, and you're gonna have holes in your sneakers. So I wanted to figure out what can I do to keep myself groomed. So today, every Thursday, Welby gets a haircut at this specific time. I don't care what the hell I'm doing. I'm not missing my haircut.
Yeah.
When it comes to sneakers, it's not about I want to have an abundance of, but I remembered when I couldn't. So that's why I can buy a pair of sneakers or a pair of boots, and you can look at these sneakers or boots 2 years later, look like I bought them yesterday, because I cherish how hard I had to work for these things. So those things were like driving forces for me that I said, I know I could do it. I know I could do something.
Yeah.
But another major thing that happened to me is, as I told you guys, it's 5 of us. My parents had 5 boys. But my eldest brother, he got in trouble, and he ended up having to go to prison. So when he went to prison, he was sentenced to 12 to 25 years in prison. When he went to prison, I was only about 18, going on 19 years old. And here's the crazy thing about it: my parents never knew. When he was no longer living with us in our culture, like anybody else's, but in our culture, we prideful people. So to have a family member or let alone a child that gets incarcerated for whatever it is, that's like a big, right? Yeah. So now, as I tell you, the only person that me and my brothers was fearful of was my parents, especially my father. He was an extreme disciplinarian. So because of that, when my brother got incarcerated, as a protector of us, he told us, but primarily me, don't tell our father that I'm in prison. So what a lot of people didn't know, including my parents, is that the only person that was supporting my brother, sustaining my brother, was me. So if I get to apologize, I think about it, but I'll tell you the end result of what happened with him. So when he got incarcerated, there's a stigma about being incarcerated. Yeah. So obviously, you know, when you incarcerated, that you're gonna come home, and it's gonna be difficult for you to make it in life. Yeah. So I got a drive that I said that I'm gonna become an attorney to see if I can help my brother get out of his situation. Let alone from that, I want to figure out this real estate stuff, because I didn't want my brother coming home to have to go and live in a halfway or anything of that nature. So that drove me too. So in between me trying to figure these things out, this is part of why I share my story about being taken advantage of in this business, and why you see me having such an aggressive tone when it comes to investing, because of the things that the people were doing to me in this business that I looked up to, or I thought was what I wanted to be, and they just saw me as an opportunity. Yeah. So now with my brother, he was in prison, if you fast forward 12 years. That whole time my parents didn't know.
Really? Where'd they think he was?
They didn't know, and we didn't talk about it, but I knew. Then my brothers knew.
How much older was your brother?
My brother was 7 years older than me, approximately 7 years older. But here's the unfortunate thing. So I tell you what happened. The sad part. So a couple of years into his stint, my brother developed leukemia. So when he developed leukemia, he was fighting leukemia the whole time on his own. So he's in prison, he's upstate. So of course, when he's the strongest man I knew. So even when he was going through the leukemia fight, I didn't even take it that serious, because he was stoic, and at that time, I'm gainfully employed. If he needed anything, I'd take care of it for him. But in my mind, my brother's gonna come home because they gave him 12 to 25 years. His 12 years is coming. He'll be okay. But believe it or not, him being incarcerated saved his life. Believe it or not, the prison system loved him. He was really a good man. So what ended up happening is that he went into remission. When he went into remission, he started working back out. He was getting strong again. Hey, his name was Mark Fell. Mark Fell, your time is coming up. Don't worry. I'm gonna have you. I'm buying a house. The house that I still own today, I situated it because my brother's gonna have his own, not his own room. I had a built out extension. You're gonna have your own place. I'm gonna make sure that you're gonna be independent, and you're gonna work with me, right? So his cancer went into remission. Then one day, still my parents don't know he's in prison. Now one day I go to visit my parents to go see how they doing. My brother calls me. I'm on the phone with him and we're talking. As we talking, he starts coughing. And he starts coughing. I said, bro, why you coughing like that? I already knew. I said, bro, why you coughing like that? I mean, you know. No, why you coughing like that, bro? And he says to me, the cancer's back. My mother was in the kitchen. I went over to my mom for the first time after a decade of her son not being around. Ma, I got Mark Phil on the phone. What? Listen, he's been in prison. And I told her everything real quick. She just grabs the phone. And then that's how the whole family came together. Wow. Anyways, we all rallied behind him. And then, unfortunately, the cancer overtook him and he passed away.
In prison?
He passed away in prison. And the day that he died is the same day that he was released from prison. So I carry him.
Wow, yeah.
I carry him, and he's been like for me, my twin brother, my other brothers, he's been like an inspiration because he lived a tough life. So then my attitude is, how dare me? How dare me that I'm gonna half-ass this?
Yeah.
So For those people that don't know, part of why I got a chip on my shoulder, why I move the way that I move, why I'm so transparent the way that I am, so many people go through their dilemmas just like me. Your story and my story, I bet you we mirror each other in many ways. The only thing that changes are the players. In many ways, we mirror. Okay, I get it. I understand. Now what? Either you're going to lay down or you're going to get up, right? So I just started going harder.
Yeah.
I just started going harder. So when we talk about my journey in real estate, I got wiped out 3 times to 0. Wiped out 3 times to 0. The average person get wiped out 1 time. They ain't never getting back up. Yeah. So with the adversities that kept happening to me, did I have self-doubt? Absolutely. Did I say to myself, this ain't for me? Absolutely. Pissed off and everything else? Absolutely. And then at the end of the day, I had to have a real conversation with myself and admit to myself how much ownership was I taking.
Yeah.
What did I contribute to the dilemmas that I was that I was facing? And when you really think about it, it started out with me.
When you talk about being taken advantage of, overcoming that, like what did that look like when you were starting?
Listen, the thing is that I didn't know, right? What I wanted to do is, here's the thing, like many other people do. You have a dream, and you have a goal. Unfortunately, it's, I think, human nature. We want to try and find the easiest way of doing it. And that's including investing in real estate, cutting corners, thinking that you read a book. I see amazing books here, and you don't read the book to actually absorb it. You read it to say that you did it, right? Right? And then and then when you actually go out there, you wasn't ready. So then what happens is I tell people, real estate is a bunch of sharks out here. These people are not your friends. Yeah. They are not. I'm not saying that you can't develop friendships. We've developed friendships, but it's an organic friendship that developed. Yeah. For the majority of the people that you're going to encounter with the different players, whoever you want to talk about, if you talk about, now you're going to get me started. Now you're going to get me started. So if we talk about the realtors, we talk about the mortgage lenders, they look at you as an opportunity. Yeah. That's what they look at you as. So now if you're a new guy or a new woman just starting out with limited experience, what are you doing? You leaning on these people that are supposedly supposed to do business with you with integrity, and they're going to do the right by you. The majority of them don't won't. I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah. The majority of them won't. They see you as an opportunity. That's what happened with me. So when I share about being taken advantage of, the dilemmas I went through, I have ASS. I'm going to be clean. I have.
You can say it, man.
I can say it. Thank you. I have asked my work, thinking I was really putting in the work, then putting my life in the hands of these parties in this business, and then they railroaded me. So when I get wiped out, I had to fight again. So when I hear the stories of these people that's happening now, it's no different than what happened to me. I understand. So whatever story somebody want to share about, I understand, because it happened to me multiple times. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to take responsibility for yourself, and that's what I had to do. I had to take responsibility for what I was not doing and then make a change on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you give an example of where somebody might learn from one of your mistakes, getting taken advantage of? Like what did you figure out? Like, oh, I won't do this again.
Oh, you make the money on the buy. Everything about real estate is you make the money on the buy. Yeah. Everything about real estate is the numbers. Yeah. The numbers. Stop taking it personal, everybody. Yeah. People take it so personal when it comes to real estate. It's about the numbers. Yeah. And one of the most important things, I never understood the concept. Mm-hmm. You make your money on the buy. Yeah. You say it, you regurgitate it because you heard someone else say it. But to understand the concept of it, that's a whole totally different animal. Yeah.
You made a comment yesterday. Hope. What was the hope?
People are smoking hopium.
Hopium.
I stole that from David Green.
Really? Yeah. Exactly.
I love that concept.
Where it's
people
like,
just hope it'll work out.
Yeah.
Good.
They won't look at numbers. They don't. Yeah.
They figure it out after the fact, is what I say. You building the plane in the air and then wondering why it crashed. Yeah. So you doing it after the fact. So when people reach out to yourselves or reach out to other platforms that is credible, they're doing it after the fact, after you bought the property. Yep. I hear the horror stories every day. Every day I hear it. But guess what? No judgment over here. I did the same thing.
Yeah, been there.
If you could go back, would you change any of that? Because for me, like, I screwed up so many times at the beginning, but I wouldn't change any of it because I learned so much through the process.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yes, I wouldn't change anything. Thank God. But what about the majority of the people? You having people losing their entire life savings. And then those actions are generational. So what about those people that are coming after them that are affected because mom and dad had this dream or this goal, and the goal is, as a parent, I don't have any kids yet, but as a parent, you don't do it for you anymore. So imagine those parents that are doing that, and their intent is for what they're gonna do to leave for their child or their children, and especially the market where we at today, your children, you know the difficulty that they're gonna have, but you setting them up, they'll be okay. Mine will be okay. But what about the majority of the other people? So I'm thankful. It's definitely made me who I am today. I wish I didn't have to, but it is what it is, and I'm happy that it made me who I am today.
Yeah. One of the hardest things for me in real estate was to figure out, because I just don't feel like I operate this way as much, but people only like you as much as you can help them.
Thank you.
In a lot of ways, which is a tough pill to swallow. And I've had so many great relationships and learned, but there's been also people where it's like, until like best friends until you stop providing value to them, and then it's like, all right, moving on.
And once you understand that, here's the thing I tell everybody: the most important person in the equation of investing in real estate is you. So those people are going to ask, who are you talking about, right, Welby? I'm talking about the qualified buyer and or the investor. We are the most important person in the entire equation. So you better respect me. My attitudes change like that when I walk in the room. Yeah, this would not be happening if I'm not willing to take on the risk that I'm about to sign. Mr. Mortgage Lender, you didn't do me a favor. Stop acting like you did me a favor. Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, you didn't do me a favor. If I didn't work my tail off my life to assure my credit, my income, et cetera, wasn't in place, this would not be happening. So my goal when I talk to anybody is to empower you. We've lost that for the people that are doing this, the investor and or the qualified buyer. We villainized them. Just like what we do to the landlords. I tell people that landlords, property owners are superheroes. Do you understand what we got to go through? You understand that I'm responsible for you and everything that comes from you, yet you villainize me.
Yeah.
No, we're superheroes. So when you seeing the monies that are possibly being made, no, we earned that. We earned that. So that's why I tell anybody, I don't care if you're starting for just one single property or if you're talking about building a portfolio, the number one most important person is you, the man that respect. So any of the people that work with me, I'm not like this every day. I'm very nice, but I don't tolerate the BS.
Yeah.
I don't tolerate the BS.
So with that, we bought a house. We flipped a house just recently, bought it for $280. We ended up putting $120 into it, and we sold it at $550. But it took 8 months to do. It was a long rehab, a lot of permit process, and all that good stuff. And I remember telling one of my friends the numbers, and he was like, "So you made $150,000?" I was like, and he couldn't get over that. He thought that I was the richest person in the world. And I was like, no, after you count for holding costs, interest, realtor fees, I think we walked with it was still a great deal. I think we walked with $60,000, but I'm like, we did not make $150,000.
And you earned that
money.
And all that risk.
That's
all
what I'm
the
saying.
risk,
We're taking all the risks, but then we're being treated as if rents are high. No, rents aren't high. Blame the government. The rents aren't high because I want it high. I have to be compensated for the risk that I took to maintain where you live, and I got to get compensated too. So if the government or the taxes weren't being dropped on our heads in a manner, trust me, the rents will go down. So, but I just don't like the treatment that we receive, and I just demand respect, because we none of this would be happening without us.
Dude, I think that's so valuable to hear, because I do start to like just get it. You hear it over and over and over, like how evil landlords are and how horrible capitalism is, and like this whole thing. I feel like there's this wave, and so like you start to just feel discouraged, I guess. Like, oh man. So I love that you're saying that. It's like, yeah, we are providing housing for people who would not have it otherwise.
That's what it is. And
we're taking risks.
And if anybody think that there's a better option, go and see government housing. Go and see how the projects are. We all see. And mind you now, your own government aren't held to the standard that they hold us. Okay? They don't hold us to the same standard that the government. Why you don't raise hell to them? You understand? So we got to be compensated for this. So I always say to people that real estate is not sexy. It is not sexy at all. The reward is what's sexy. The lifestyle that it provides, it's what's sexy. But the in-between leading up to that, nobody wants to talk about that. I talk about that every single day. I show about my wins, my losses, a tenant or two I had to evict, a property that burned down. How did I come up from that? Because I want those people to see, if I wasn't on a platform like yours, if I wasn't on Instagram, I would just be a regular guy walking down the street. You'd never know. So I'm no different than you.
Yeah.
No different.
It's not sexy, for sure. Like, we just had a property over the course of 10 days, it got broken into 6 times.
Oh, jeez.
And here's the crazy thing. And I get it, because obviously police officers are very busy. But we set up a security system there. And so we would know when it was getting broken into. And we would call, and they wouldn't send anybody because it was a vacant house and there was nobody in danger. And so at like 11:30 at night, which here it's like 6 o'clock or whatever, and Lexi's calling. I'm like, hey, we need somebody over there. They're breaking in right now. Is there anybody there? No. Is anybody in danger? No. Well, we might get to it tonight. And I was like, dang it.
Nobody cares about our
every
plight.
time they'd go in there and they would
Nobody
do
cares
drugs,
about our
go
fight
to the
at all.
bathroom in the house. It was wild.
Yeah.
It's like people don't talk about that.
Yeah, they don't. But I talk about it every day. I talk about it, and I'm proud of it too. I'm proud that I'm one of the most transparent people in this space. I talk about the wins. I talk about the possibilities. I talk about what did I do? How did I figure out this property? What did I do with taking this money to acquire this property? How much is the return on this property? What's the possibilities of that? Because I want you to see I can do the same thing. I could do the same thing, So I expose my truth every day.
So maybe you got something?
Well, I'm interested. Like, give us one horror story, like a house that's just I think it's always fun to talk about.
Are you talking about a flip or are you talking about a rental?
Let's go flip.
A flip. A horror story with a flip. Damn, there's so many of them.
Exactly.
A horror
what's
story.
not a horror story?
Okay, I bought a property to flip. It was I forgot the town, but anyways, I bought the property and then I overlooked inspecting the septic tank. And I went through the whole process, totally renovated the property, everything was done. And then sure enough, I put the property on the market. It was an easy $80,000 net profit, easy. And then sure enough, went through the process. They did the inspection. They did the whole inspection of the septic tank and said, hey, the septic tank is wrong. It's not where it's supposed to be. You need to install this. And I was dragging my feet because I had maybe 3 or 4 other projects going on at the same time. Before you know it, it was about a year later before you knew it. And then, of course, hard money has to get paid. Forget about the monthly expenses that I was carrying. And then it cost me almost about $35,000, $40,000 to do the job. So by the time it was all said and done, I think I lost about $50,000 on that deal. I lost that. Yeah. And when I lost it, but I strategically lost it. How about I say that? Because I could have held it longer to try to bank on a little bit of appreciation. I wasn't going to rent it out and then cash it on the back end. But sometimes you got to take a loss in real estate strategically, because the bigger picture is when I took the $50,000 loss, I still cashed out the money I had tied into it, which I was able to throw it into another deal. And on that next deal, by the time I was all said and done, I profited net about $145,000 on it.
Which you wouldn't have done if you wouldn't have had that money.
Yeah. I would have still did it because I had the money anyways. But I just wanted to let's just get out of here and stuff like that and move forward. So that was definitely a horror story with that. If I could talk about a rental horror story, I had a 3-family property that burned down to the ground and that property I was renting it out to, if I could say, sex offenders. The city, I get contracts with the city, so they were renting out the entire building to parolees and sex offenders. And then evidently the second floor tenant, he was doing like a seance or something, like he was doing voodoo or something there, and he forgot to turn off the candle, and it ultimately ignited the curtain or something, and then it burned the entire building down. And
did you come out ahead on that because of insurance?
Big time.
Okay.
Big time. Big time. Big
I've always
time.
heard you get one time you're allowed to burn down a house.
Listen,
and
I did.
They won't ask questions after.
I came off big time. And I still own the property today. It's one of my best performing properties. It's a brand new building. It does extremely well. I got a ton of equity in the property as well. The cash flow is ridiculous. So yeah.
My first flip I ever did, very first flip, I couldn't sell it. It was 2008. Couldn't sell. The market was just trash, right? So I keep it as a rental. I actually did the BRRRR strategy without knowing what the BRRRR strategy was. So I bought it, fixed it up, couldn't sell it, refinanced it, put a tenant in there. Tenant stayed for 7 or 8 years. At the end of the tenancy, towards the end there, the tenant got into drugs pretty bad. The husband and wife separated. The drug addict husband or ex-husband was still living there. And then stopped paying rent. So 6 months go by of us trying to get him out and all the legal stuff. And finally, we're at the final week of eviction stuff. It's finally going through. And the house is just a disaster. It was a disaster. Just covered with, they had so much junk in that house. And I'm not communicating with the tenant, even though he texts me a lot. I just won't talk to him because we're in the middle of proceedings, right? And then I'm at this conference, this real estate conference or something like that. I'm in the middle of it with a bunch of friends hanging out, just drinking at night. And I get a text that just says, "You need to call me. Your house is on fire."
That's similar to how I got too.
If you could send him to this house that's been broken into 6 of the last 10 nights, I would love that.
I came out ahead on that one too, though. 'Cause it took care of. So when the house burned, the whole thing didn't burn down, just about a quarter of it. Yeah. But then the insurance covered the entire
year's
cleanup.
rent.
They covered lost rent, and the entire property got fixed up.
That's right.
And he got out of the house.
And he got out of the house. So everything got solved by that. Now, was it some headache? Yes. But it's just a good reminder that in real estate, even the worst case scenario, rarely happens.
But you want to know, when the fire happened, I got called. And I started laughing because I knew I was going to make out. I knew I was going to make out. And then the number one question I asked was, is anybody hurt? Yep. You don't want nobody hurt, right? And then when I finally got up there, the first thing the fire marshal said to me, because I own a lot of properties in that area, he pulled me to the side and he says, came chest to chest to me because he didn't want nobody else to hear. He says, "You don't have any illegal apartments or anything in there, right?" And I said, "No," because they've been locking up property owners for illegal apartments. So for those people that are doing your house hacking, people that are renting out illegal partitions in your home, it's all good while you're doing it until it's not. So when it occurred, I wasn't worried. I knew I had proper insurance, and I knew I wasn't doing anything illegal, and I knew I was going to rebuild it, and I rebuilt it back bigger and better, and was able to strategically increase its cash flow ridiculously because the mortgage was still the same. And like I said, it's one of my best performing properties right now.
Yeah, that's a great reminder that when you flirt with the line of legality or you just go right over it, everything's fine. Yeah, nothing ever goes wrong until it goes wrong.
Until it goes wrong. That's why when you catch people cutting corners, and here's the thing, we used to do it too. Yeah, we're not saints. Yeah, I did the FHA mortgage thing. Lying to the bank that I'm going to be living there, knowing I wasn't going to live there, and then it's immediately rented out. I did all of those things too. I'm not knocking somebody, but I didn't understand the severity of what I was doing.
Yeah, the consequences.
The consequences until something happens. So that's why when people contact me about business and they ask me questions about real estate, whatever extras that you're doing, that doesn't count. Let's talk about the core property
Yeah.
and what's the property doing? How's it performing? That's what I want to talk about. The extras, that's between you and God. But let's talk about the core of the property and go from there.
Yeah. It's a great point, man. Hey, what is your portfolio? What does your business look like today? Like, what do you do? Like, just we never really covered. Like, what's your life like today? Real estate.
Well, my business model for people is that I flip real estate.
Okay.
I flip real estate to then utilize the proceeds of a flip to buy me income-producing properties. So now, people hear the word flip and they compartmentalize me into one area and thinking that, oh, he means just flipping in the conventional sense. But I tell people that the entire business of investing in real estate is a flip.
Explain that.
Okay. So there's 3 major entry points of investing in real estate, all right? Of course, there's subject to, of course, there's foreclosures, there's a myriad of other ways, but there's 3 major entry points of investing in real estate. What's number 1? A wholesaler. What does a wholesaler do? A wholesaler gets a property under contract at the right price point to ultimately flip that property to somebody like you and I, right? What's the next one? A flipper. A flipper. What does a flipper do? A flipper gets a property under contract, renovates that property to ultimately put that property back on the market to ultimately flip that property to an end buyer. You agree?
Yep.
The third one is buy and hold. What does a buy and holder do? A buy and holder gets a property under contract at the right price point, renovates that property, rents that property to ultimately flip that current mortgage into a long-term mortgage for passive income.
Yep.
The entire business of investing in real estate is a flip.
Yeah.
I got screwed for 13 years, 12 years, 11, 12 years before I realized that. So when the epiphany hit me, when I got on my third and last, we all failed, but when my last punch in the face when I got wiped out, it was back in 2011 or 12, I got wiped out. When I looked at the first 3 times I got wiped out, I started investing at the end of 2003, 2004. So from 2003 all the way to 11, 12, I was getting punched in the face, wiped out.
Yeah.
I kept cutting corners. I kept using excuses. I kept wondering, oh yeah, the market is making me some money. In 2010, it was similar to the pandemic. All you had to do was throw crap to the wall. Everybody was looking like a superstar. So I'm thinking I'm doing something until a year later, I lost it all again. So the last time when I get wiped out again, I'm investing in Atlanta. I'm living in New York. I tell everybody, if you're a brand new investor starting out in real estate, you should not be investing out of state where it requires you to catch an airplane ride.
Yeah.
Just starting out. You should not be doing it.
Yeah.
I know it's the trend now, but it's no different than what happened in 2004 when I first started. So when you see people doing that, you're not doing anything new. We've been seeing that. So what happened is now the property when I bought it, the acquisition was good, but I didn't know how to manage the rehabbing, especially because I'm from New York trying to manage.
It's so hard.
Completely.
It's
so
ridiculous. When
I lost and I was left with $90,000. I lost. That was one of the best things that happened to me. So when I lost that monies, I came back home. Understand, my parents have been watching their son getting his ass served for over 12 years. Yeah. So when I come to go see my father, go downstairs to see my father, Haitian parents are extremely nosy. So my father says to me, Welby, BB, they call me, BB, what's going on with that house that you're doing in Atlanta? So we talking in our language, and I say, yeah, you know. And he says to me, no, what happened? I said, hey, man, I lost it all again. I lost money again. My father was so disappointed, 1. 2, he sees his son getting punched in the face. Yeah. Then he says to me, you done, right? You're not doing this anymore. I told him, yo, Dad, I got it. I know what to do. I know what to do now. So all of those trials and tribulations that we talked about, I said, I know what to do now, which partially where that concept was going in my mind was that everything about real estate is a flip. You make your money on the buy. When you understand proper acquisition, everything falls in line. Everything falls in line. People that are buying real estate before and today, you ask them the basic questions, they can't even answer it. You know what they're happy about? They were invited to the party. They were invited that they bought real estate. And then I tell them, no disrespect, that's not a win. Simply buying real estate and getting to the closing table is not a win. Yeah. When you ask them, what was your projected goals on it? Are you flipping this? Are you wholesaling it? Are you buying, keeping it for long term? They cannot even articulate it. So they're finding out after the fact. They bought themselves a dud.
Yep.
You're finding out after the fact.
So I said yesterday we were recording a video for Deal Flow, which is Cameron's kind of coaching business, and I said, I said deal analysis is the number one most important skill an investor can possibly have. I mean, yeah, finding leads, great, you should do it. Managing properties, amazing. But knowing how to run the numbers, that's looking in the future. And if you can do that,
I can tell you, I find me a multifamily property. I already know what price I got to get it at, to what it's going to cost me to fix it, that by the time I fix it, what the rents will be, to what the mortgage is going to be, and I could tell you within a really strong parameters, Brandon, I'm going to do about $4,000 in net income from this property. Then I understood the art of forced appreciation.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to wait 7 years for this property to supposedly appreciate enough that I could tap into it? This is why I tell most people, they're going to hate me when I say it, most people should not be doing the BRRRR strategy.
Why is that?
It's the death of most people. Most people that are just starting out have no business touching the equity in this property. You have no business doing the BRRRR strategy because the BRRRR strategy is an art.
How does somebody build a rental portfolio if they do not have money without doing the BRRRR strategy?
Well, here's the thing. Why I say the BRRRR strategy is extremely dangerous. The manner of how you're buying, I already know because there's a brotherhood in this business to understand. So when I speak or you speak, we already can finish each other's sentences because we understand. But for the people that are on the outside that don't understand, ask us. So when you're talking about the BRRRR strategy, you're not buying nobody's turnkey property waiting for appreciation.
Oh, turnkey rentals is the dumbest. Yeah. Yes.
Can I get a handshake, please?
Hey, yes, sir.
Thank you. So what I'm saying is when people are buying, for example, going back to the pandemic, I get hot about this. People bought their properties, and the majority of the people that bought their properties were buying their properties with a 2%, 3% interest rate. Who cares about your interest rate? What you don't even realize is that now you're stuck. When I say that, they get offended. I said, don't get offended. Let's just do the math. You just bought a property at the odds are, if you're using regular conventional financing like FHA, VA, or any of those other type of programs, the odds are more so than not, you're buying a turnkey property.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with me, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, you see, I'm not crazy, right? I'm not crazy. When you understand that, so now given the fact that the people bought it at the top of the market, there is no equity. Yep. So you know what you're doing now? You're waiting for the market to move. What happened with the pandemic? A lot of artificial appreciation happened, so people think that that's the way the market works, and it doesn't. Yeah. So now you bought a property hypothetically for $300,000. It's worth $300,000, and the realtor that's supposed to be having your back told you, and the mortgage lender, don't worry, in about a year it'll be worth $400,000. Yeah. You got a 2% interest rate, a 3% interest rate. You're barely able to afford it now at the 2%, 3% interest rate. So now what you're going to do, the BRRRR strategy, right? You will get approved because it fell within the parameters. So you did the BRRRR strategy. Now your mortgage went up. Your principal balance went up. What did you do with the difference? You're using it to go buy your next property, right? Here's what I tell everybody. If you do that method or you use the HELOC method, what I like to call is that you have a phantom mortgage now. Why? Because you got the primary residence, and now you got the money that you pulled out, or you do the HELOC, there go your second mortgage because it got to be paid back, and now you used it to buy the next property. Now when you bought the next property with the same mindset that you approached the first property, now you over-leveraged with the third property. Now, sir, ma'am, how are you going to pay off that loan that you borrowed or the HELOC that you borrowed so that you could keep growing? You can't. So now what happens? You got a portfolio of a primary residence, you got a portfolio of a HELOC or a refi amount that you use, then you use the same property for a third property, and all it takes is one of them to give you a problem, and it all comes down. That's how serious this is. So I tell people, don't do the BRRRR strategy, because when I do the BRRRR strategy, I'm in and out. I'm in and out in weeks to months. If I'm using a home equity line of credit, the property I'm doing a home equity line of credit debt to value is maybe 50%. I'm using the home equity line to acquire that next property, as you're saying, and that home equity line, I'm buying it in the same manner I bought the first one, so I'm force appreciating that one too. So what do you think happens when I go to the bank? Hey, sir, and we can talk about the examples of this. Hey, I got this property. How much is it worth? Well, it's worth X amount. Damn, you only at 50%, bro. Do you want more money? No, I don't want no more money. I want what it cost me to acquire, repair, which is more than enough to pay back that HELOC. Now I got the HELOC paid off, so I still got the money to play. The primary is still low with the cash flow, and now I got a new property that I'm gonna get a HELOC on that one now too.
I think that we're going to see a ton of people lose a lot of money that utilize the BRRRR strategy because they were getting crazy appraisals. They were pulling out, they were getting up to 80%. So they were all in for 65%, but they were like, oh, I can get an extra $30,000. I'm going to do that. And they were locked in on an ARM. Am I talking? They were locked in on an ARM, and those ARMs are coming up, and they're going to lock in now at 7.5%, 8%.
Thank you so much.
That's the problem in the multifamily world right now. That's why there's a lot of multifamily operators.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, sometimes I feel like I'm on an island by myself. Because what we're talking about now, I've been preaching this forever. Long before the pandemic happened, long before everything. Because I've been there, done that, and I saw it. So when I tell people, you haven't seen blood in the water yet, you think you have. You haven't seen anything yet. Are you prepared? I know I am. I know I am. So when I've shared this, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to deter people out of the business. No, I'm not. I'm encouraging people to come into this business. Everybody should own real estate. Everybody should own real estate. But a lot of you are gonna suffer badly.
So how do you do the BRRRR strategy safely?
Okay, so this is how I do the BRRRR strategy. So I had a property that I let me give you an example I do flips.
Yep.
I use the proceeds from a flip to buy me income producing properties. So as you was just asking, how do you find the money? Those people that are in a rush to quit their job, where the hell you going? Go back to work and continue working. What I understood is that the only way for your business to grow is that you have to find a way to continue injecting money into your business. I'm not that smart. So one thing I do know is I can flip a house or two. I've done it. In the last 5 years, I've done over 130 flips. So when I was flipping the properties, I was flipping with an intention that I'm going to save up this money, save up this money, save up this money. I'm going to utilize that money and utilize that money as a down payment to buy me my investment properties, my rental properties. I studied the market that I'm in. I don't buy single families. If I buy it, I'm flipping it. I don't buy duplexes. If I'm buying it, I'm flipping it. But if it's a 3-family or more, I'm keeping it. So what do? I'm looking at a way to add value to a property. So I don't want nobody's turnkey property. Now imagine you're buying a property that you're going to add value to that's not turnkey and you're putting 25% down. Yeah. It's a different game we're playing. Yeah. And I learned the strategy of being patient because everybody wants their money now. That's why they're doing the BRRRR strategy. So when I do what I described, my mortgage is low, which is why I don't care about having a 2% or 5% interest rate. It does not matter. Yeah. My cash flow is ridiculous. Yeah. We could talk about that. Now, what did I do? When you say the BRRRR strategy, I don't do a quote-unquote BRRRR strategy. I do the strategy of my debt to value is low, and I go to the bank. And I say, hey, bank, this property is worth $450,000. Welby, how much do you owe? I owe about $200,000. Well, Welby, we can give you, as you guys were saying, some of them are willing to give you up to 90% on a HELOC. I'll take it because I'm going to be disciplined with that. So how much do I get out of that? Hypothetically, it's $150,000. Let's just make it $150,000. It's actually more than that. I took that money and I found me another property and I paid cash for it with the HELOC. But remember, this property's cash flowing now that I just bought. That property's cash flowing me about $4,000 a month. The HELOC on that 160-something is roughly $1,500. Plus the mortgage payment, I'm still net $2,500 every month. Yeah. I go and I buy me that next property and I follow the same process. I buy that property, buy a distressed and or underperforming. That's my model. It's distressed and or underperforming. I take the money from that next property. So when people talk about becoming your own bank, I became my own bank. I take that money and I buy that next property. And I do the same thing again. I buy property that I can add value to. I pay cash for it this time because I know that I already own a bunch of properties in the area. I already know what the rents are going to be because I've been forcing the market in the area. I get the property up and stabilized, then I go back to the bank again. Hey, sir, this property is XYZ. They give me the money. I with discipline, take the money and pay back the HELOC to zero. And I do it again.
I was going to actually throw out there, my favorite way to do the BRRRR strategy right now is to buy it in all cash. Like, so you don't have the hard money. Because hard money, I mean, I get it. It works, but it's short term, and that's where you're going to get screwed over.
That's right.
And so if you can buy a property in cash, and if you don't have the cash, if you can find a partner who has all cash,
that's right.
There's zero, I mean, not zero. There's almost no risk whatsoever. Because worst case, okay, you hold the property cash free and you're cash flowing right away.
Right.
And your investor who partnered with you, if they have the money, fine, they're getting all the cash flow until you refi it. Who cares?
But can I say something too that I've been wanting to say about rentals, right? Because you'll hear people don't understand the concept of cash flow. You hear the person will say that they're netting X amount. So then my question is, what was the method of how you got into this property? So the odds are, if you are buying an investment property, I know that they got this new program, 5% down, which is setting you up for failure too. Everybody, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So everybody all happy. Or you could buy yourself a 4-family with 5%. It's setting you up for failure.
Yeah, it's, especially at 7% interest rates, at 5% down. Like, there's no way that's cash flowing.
You guys don't understand what you guys are doing for me, man. It is it is refreshing to have fellow investors telling you people what's going on out here.
Yeah.
So now, I tell people in real estate, you do not make money until you recoup what it cost you. So now, if you bought your property, and I got a gentleman that just joined one of my mentorship classes. This gentleman put about $40,000 buying the property. He bought the property, ridiculous price. By the time it's all said and done, I'm saying it loosely, but I'm gonna explain. He said he's net cash flowing $400 a month. And I said to him, "What is your debt?" His debt is about $400,000, right? And he's net cash flowing $400 a month. I said, "How much did it cost you to buy it?" He put 25% down on the purchase price. The purchase price was like, I'm just making my round numbers, but roughly it was about $400 and something thousand. So he put 25% down. 25% of that is approximately what? Just told him
100,000.
100,000. So I said, listen to me, brother. You put 100. How much is the property worth? It's worth what he paid for it. So he put $100,000 down, and by the time it's all said and done, he's netting $400. I said, let's just make it that everything works out. No issues, no rent issues, nothing like that. That's $4,000, almost $5,000 a year in net income. That means it's going to take you over 20 years just to break even. So where are you talking about net? Then here's the new game that people play. Well, it's going to appreciate. When it appreciates, I made that money. No, it's only numbers on a piece of paper. Appreciation, equity don't mean crap unless you can tap into it. So it just looks good on a piece of paper. So now, with the dilemma that you in, the odds of you making it to the other side to catch that equity is slim to none. Do you understand the game that you're playing? Here's the sad part about it. When people are buying their real estate, their spidey senses is tingling because what they were expecting to have happen, it's not happening, but they don't have the education enough to articulate and to express why. So when they go and they talk to the people that are supposed to be their confidant, their leader, the person, the licensed people is who I like to call them, can strategically convince you otherwise. How do you debate that? Because you don't have enough of a skill set to debate it. You understand? So that's why I tell people you don't start making money in real estate until you recoup what it cost you. And in that situation, you're never going to recoup your money.
So how would you tell, like if you had a student, how would you tell a student that makes $70,000 a year, provides for their family, they don't make extra money. They can't, $70,000 a year, they're breaking even every year. How would you tell them to get into real estate?
Everybody got the money.
Everybody's got the money.
Everybody got the money. When you dig, I'm a good digger. Mm-hmm. I'm a very good digger. You dig long enough, then you'll be able to say, there you go right there. Mm-hmm. You know how many of these other parties that you described is driving a brand new car? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about Mercedes-Benz or anything like that. I'm just saying, they driving a brand new car and their response is, but I deserve it. No, you don't. You know how many of those people are on their vacation right now and they're saying, we'll figure it out when we get back home because they should not be doing it? So in my experiences, the majority, there's always an exception to the rule. The majority of the people have it. Now, here's the problem with what they don't do. They don't take the time to educate themselves to understand their financial capacity to then identify the market that they should be in. You understand? So then they make an assumption. I can't invest over here. It's so expensive. And my response is, everywhere in America is a great place to invest. Everywhere in America is a great place to invest. You know what you doing? You chasing somebody else's dreams. You're counting somebody else's pockets. So then you'll hear people will say that, I'm looking for a cheap market. And my response to them is, there is no such thing as a cheap market in America. Because if it's so cheap, why is it that the natives that are living there aren't buying it? You understand? So there's no such thing as that. Everything is relative to the individual and the position that they're in. The next thing I ask them is, and I could give an example of myself and let's say Floyd Mayweather. I'm doing pretty good for myself, but I'm not Floyd Mayweather. If you ask the average person, is $1 million house expensive? They'll tell you, hell yeah, it is. Ask Floyd Mayweather, is a $1 million house expensive? He say, that cheap thing? My house is $30 million.
Yeah, he's got a bag worth $1 million.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So everything is relative to the individual. Yeah. What they don't do is they don't take the time to identify. What they want to do is they're looking for a God or they're looking for a Messiah to come down and say, I got you. Everybody, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. So what I tell people is, you have no business catching a flight to start investing in another part of the country. You have no business. If you would take the time and look in your environment, there is a market in your backyard.
Yeah, there's something everywhere.
Thank you. Even if it meant you had to drive 2 hours, you can get to it. Yep. You're going to tell me you're not willing to drive 2 hours, but you're willing to catch a 5-hour flight, get a hotel, get a rental, and spend a day, let those people finesse you with the BS about what's going on, and then catch a flight back home and then wonder why the hell nothing's going on? So everywhere in America is a good place to invest. If you take the time, understand the fundamentals, and then you'll start to see it all over your environment where you could be investing in.
Dude, that's so powerful. Yeah, I used to always preach that. I'd say within a 2-hour drive of every spot in America, you can find a house under $200,000. Like even New York City, you can drive 2 hours and find something somewhere. And even like when I say that, it doesn't have to be a cheap house either. Like you could be in Hawaii, you can't find anything under $1 million on Maui, but you can invest in Maui for sure. Like there's plenty of opportunity. I mean, ridiculous amount of opportunity. Especially flipping, wholesaling, people make ridiculous good money.
That's
here.
Amazing. And that's why the response to people is, what is your excuse?
Yeah.
And then also too, it's okay to humble yourself. When I was doing what I was doing, it's because New York got ridiculous. Yeah. It got ridiculous to the point I couldn't keep up. So then I had to humble myself. And I had to catch a market in my backyard. Yep. Ironically, the market I went to is in Connecticut. Ironically, from my house to there, if you leave your house long enough, like everybody else wants to leave when traffic is, I'm the guy that's going to leave 5:30 in the morning and beat everybody. So it takes me an hour and 15 minutes to get there. I'm bringing in tens of thousands of dollars in net income every single month. It ain't worth the sacrifice, right? When I discovered that market and I started building my portfolio there, guess what happened? My income grew enough that I could come back to New York, invest again. I just finished getting another property under contract in Queens, New York, which is an expensive market. I got it as a probate situation. The property is worth $900,000. I got it for $460,000. And I'm paying cash out of my own pocket. If you would have asked me a decade ago, I couldn't have played that game. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's okay to humble yourself, accept the circumstance that you are in, but that doesn't mean you just lay down. Yeah. You got to do something about it.
One of our buddies, Tony, who we'll get on the podcast at some point, but I love his story, and I'll let him share the whole thing. But he was like, I want to get into real estate. I want financial freedom. So instead of just going to go visit for a weekend to a town, he's like, I'm moving there. So he moves across the country he identified the best area he could buy a vacation rental in, moves there, spends a year learning the market, finding a property, fix it up. I think he has 3 properties. Moves to Maui and retires.
You understand that?
Mid-20s.
And can I add 30s. To that? That's such a beautiful example, which is why you never hear me talk about doors.
Yeah.
You never hear me talk. People ask me all the time, Welby, how many doors? And I say that doors is irrelevant.
It's completely irrelevant.
It's a false representation of the truth.
Yep.
So when people they get their mouth salivates at the thought. Brandon hypothetically got 1,000 doors. Yeah. You hypothetically got 500 doors, and Welby got 100 doors. In their psyche, there has to be Brandon is at the top tier. Then you are in the middle, and Welby's at the bottom.
If I could be real about that, I mean, I have 12, almost 13,000 doors right now.
Unbelievable.
I guarantee I guarantee both of you make more cash flow than I do. Guaranteed.
Listen, I'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
When people see, and listen, I'm big on transparency. I provide the deeds.
Yeah.
I tell them, don't believe me. Take this deed, do the homework. If that property is not mine, I got a $10,000 check for you. Then I show them the mortgage. Then I show them the leases. Then I even show them the bank statements to show the deposits. They're like, how in the world are you bringing in this kind of money on this property where your neighbor is making $500? Yeah. You understand? It's really a strategy to it. And then going back to what I said about the doors, I have people that might have more doors than me but don't make the net income I make every month. So that's why I tell people it's not about the doors. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. That's what I focus on, and I tell everybody else you should be doing is focusing on the quality.
Yeah, because at Open Door Capital, we have, and this most syndicators, people with lots of doors, they almost always do what I do, which is, I split things 70-30, usually 80-30, or 80-20. I get 20%, but that's not me. I split that 20% down another, in half. I only own half of Open Door Capital, a little less. So really, I only have 10%, but I don't get paid until all my investors get paid their returns first. So I get almost nothing. The only cash flow I actually get is I invest in every deal that I do as a limited partner. So I'll make a few percent on my actual cash flow. But that's it. I sold all my personal real estate that I had on my own, so I didn't have to think about it anymore. But yeah, the doors are irrelevant.
But what's special for you is the fact that people that are in your space as far as with the syndication, you're being honest and open about it.
Yeah.
That's what's very special for you, because once again, with the brotherhood and the sisterhood, women kill it too, right? You can sit there and watch somebody on Instagram and be like, it's people, you could just see the BS a mile away. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, 100%.
You hear everybody? I'm not crazy.
Dude, and for a younger investor, that's hard, because I remember watching it, like seeing somebody that, I own 500 doors. And then the more I got into it, I learned wait, you're an LP in a deal.
You put 10 grand into it.
Yes.
You don't own 500 doors.
But they lead with that, with their chest out.
Yeah.
So that's why, like I said, with my mentees, whomever, I said, I don't talk about that. Let's talk about how much money I'm putting in my pocket.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's my net worth, and what's in relations to the value. Let's talk about that. And once you start to understand that perspective, the conversation starts to change, and you start to see the shift in the mind of the people. So that's why I don't talk about doors. I just don't.
Yeah. That's smart, man. All right, well, we got to start moving toward the wrapping up the show, but I got a couple quick things first for you. First of all, so one thing we do interestingly unique on this show is we donate 100% of the ad revenue. All the money that comes in from ads directly to a charity of each guest's choosing. So where are we sending the money from today's episode?
Oh, the Brooklyn Bank for my brother Jude Bernard.
Yeah, Brooklyn Bank.
The Brooklyn Bank. He does amazing work in the community. A lot of outreach, and he just does amazing things. So I think it would be great if we could do it for the Brooklyn Bank.
Definitely will. Yeah, we got Jude coming on the podcast too soon, so I'm excited.
Awesome, man. He's one of my good friends, and
he's a good dude.
He's one of the real ones out there. So yeah, that would
awesome,
be a great
man.
one. Yeah.
We'll do it. Let's roll the ad. This week, this show is sponsored by actually Open Door Capital, the company I just mentioned a few minutes ago. Earlier on this episode, we talked about how people think that they're netting all this cash flow, and they're really not. I actually wrote an ebook about that. It's like a story. It's pretty short. It explains how a lot of investors, especially landlords, think they're making money, and they really aren't. We give that away for free. Just go to odcfund.com / what is the URL? I think it's /100K, so 100K. And you can check out that free ebook. It just teaches you a little bit of what the truth is about actual landlording and how there's a lot less money going around than we think. Back to you, Welby.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon, because you saying that, it just gives me goosebumps, because I'll have landlords or people reach out to me and say they're making X amount.
Yeah, it's never true.
Yeah, and I say, okay, let's talk the math.
Yeah.
And I'll show it to them. And I'll explain to them, and I said, you realize that you're not making $1,200. You're really making about $300 a month.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually less than half of what they think they are.
And then when I showed them in relation to what it cost them, to then we're not even talking about how much you spent rehabbing. We're not even talking about the other miscellaneous. We're just talking about the raw numbers of the acquisition and everything. It's even worse. Yeah. When I showed them, Brandon, I show you, you'd be like, Welby, there's no way you making that kind of money. There's no way. And it's because of the hell that I've been through. Yeah. So I'm that much more cautious on what I'm buying. Yeah. I'm quick to walk away on a deal.
Quick question for you, and I know we have to wrap up, but I think you've said this before, but I love the quote that I've never met a real estate investor that's failed. Only ones that never started or gave up. And so obviously you've been through a ton. Yeah. Like how did you do that? What was your mindset behind that?
Honestly, if you ask me right now today, I'm the hottest brother out here moving. I'm not saying that I'm the biggest. I'm the hot, and there's nothing that you could tell me that if I want it, I'm not gonna get it. There's nothing. Now, if I didn't get it, it's because that's not what my heart is for. Yeah. You know, so, and I don't know, I gotta say it's God. I'll be honest with you, because sometimes I don't know. I don't know, like, it's just, I'm like, I don't know. It's gotta be God, because if I want it, I'm gonna get it. That's my attitude about it.
Yeah, I love it. I actually just had another friend of ours, Jason, who we'll get on the show at some point too. But he had that, like, when I asked him once how he's successful, he's like, when I want something, I go get it. Yeah. He's like, and I don't stop until I get it. Yes. He's like,
Jason's amazing.
Yeah, Jason. But there's such power in that simplicity of just like, why are you successful? Because I just went and did it.
I hung out with him the other night, and we'll have him on at some point. But he was telling me at like 21 years old, he was manifesting these things, and now he's very successful. He's a very successful guy. I don't know how much I can talk about.
Yeah, we'll let him tell a story.
Yeah,
but dude, he's a man. Yeah. Cool, man. All right, this is great. Let's shift over to the next segment of the show. This is called the 3-2-1 pivot. So the idea being, I got a pivot, meaning your life is working in one direction, and then something happens, and it changes for the better in a different direction. So 3-2-1 stands for 3 books, 2 people, and 1 quote. So let's start with the people. Start with the books. What are 3 books that have changed the direction of your life?
It's going to sound like everybody else, but Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it changed my life. The other book that I liked was The One that you have here, The One Thing. This was a really great book.
And your own.
Well, my own.
Tell about your own.
Yeah, my own. Yeah. My own books, and I'm really proud of these 2 books. I'm dropping 2 books simultaneously.
What are they called?
It's called Flips to Profits, because that's my business model, Flips to Profits, and then the other one is called Profits to Flips. And it basically is a story of my life, and then I tie everything about. I'm real estate. Yeah. My life is real estate. I am who I am because of real estate. If you could gut me open, I'm gonna have hammers and nails and 2x4s inside me, and it all ties into just my upbringing, and everything ties into real estate and the adversities that I went through. So I'm really excited about this piece, and I'm hoping it's going to be coming out sometime in next month. Hopefully, it should be coming out, God willing. So I'm excited about that.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Well, I'll be sure to broadcast that on my Instagram, and I'll promote it, man. I
sincerely appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Dude, it's going to be on Amazon and all those things?
Listen, my team that is putting it together, I'm not that smart.
All right, well, here's what I'll say to people, is because we don't know the URL yet, but I will make the redirect when we make this podcast go live. So if you go to abetterlife.com/Welby, WELBY, it'll redirect right to where they can get the books.
Thank you. You know, the thing is thank you. Yeah. Thank you, both of you, because the thing is that, as I said again, this road has been a lonely road. Mm-hmm. You know, the accomplishments that I've been able to accomplish from everything has been, I didn't have nobody in front of me to take care of it for me. I didn't have what people call a big homie or a big brother to do it for me. What you see in here, I have people, my team, don't get me wrong, but what you see here is me. You know, and just having brothers like yourselves seeing me and giving me the light, I can't thank you guys enough, and I sincerely thank you. I really, really do. Thank you.
Thanks, man. All right.
What are 2 pivot people, 2 people that you've met that have changed your life?
My twin brother is everything to me.
Love it. What's his name?
Weldon
and Welby. I love that.
My twin brother is everything to me. That's it. People that change, my twin brother, man. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give it both to him, man, because he's. That's my.
I love it.
I've got identical twin brothers too, and they're like that. they love each other, but they also hate each other.
Yeah, me and my brother fought like cats and dogs growing up, but we extremely close. And listen, it doesn't matter who the woman in our lives or not or anything. They understand that it's just something special that you just can't understand. You just cannot understand. Here's the crazy thing you're gonna hear. We all got trusts, as far trust, living trust and everything. And guess what? The ladies in our lives and whatever is not on it as far as the controlling factor. We both control ours because he knows I'm going to do right for him and his family, and he's going to do right by me. That's how close that we are. And so, my twin brother, that's everything. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What about a quote? Any quote that's changed the direction of your life?
My quote.
What is it?
My quote.
Oh, what's that?
If I can do it, you can do it too. That's my quote. If I can do it, you can do it too.
That's awesome, man. Love it. I love it. All right, next segment called Past, Present, Future. So let's start with, you want to start?
Yeah. What advice would you give 19-year-old Welby?
Bet on yourself. Truly bet on yourself. That's what I would tell Welby. You bet on yourself is what I would tell him. Truly, Welby, bet on you.
Yeah.
Bet on you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that was actually, when you asked me that was what I said.
You said the same thing,
I said the same exact thing.
Deep, man. All right, present. So we did past, present, future. Present. What is your number one rule right now for living a better life? What's it take to live a better life?
For you, is this personal?
Yeah.
To live a better life?
For somebody who wants to improve their life, what's your number one rule?
Just to remember that you don't get a repeat. So I'm just gonna go for everything that I want, man. You know, and that goes for materialistic things. I'm gonna go pick up my car, my Ferrari, in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna love the people that love you. Understand that this is a cruel world. This is a cruel world. The majority of people do not care about you like that, and it's okay to accept that. And protect yourself and protect the people that love you, and take care of the people and ride for the people that ride for you, because it's a slim pickings in that category.
Yeah.
Love it. Really good, man.
All right. So the future you. Okay, let's talk about that. So we all die someday.
Yeah.
So someday you're going to pass away, and let's say Weldon gets up to speak at your funeral. What do you want him to say about you?
I'm a solid man. I really am. I'm a solid man.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect, far from perfect, but I'm a solid man, and that's it. I'm a solid man. I really am. You know, I'm what your mother would hope that the man comes in your life would be. But I'm not perfect though. But I'm a solid man.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's a great legacy, man. All right, let's wrap things up. First of all, besides the book, which we talked about already, but what else are you excited about? What's coming up in your life that you're pumped about?
Listen, what I'm excited about in my life, listen, everything is driven through real estate, man. Look, man, you know the thing is that I finally found my purpose. My purpose is to educate the people. That's my purpose, and I'm knee deep in it.
Yeah. What's that look like for you? Like, do you have you got the book, obviously, you have courses,
the book, and listen, my mentorships that I have a training called the Real Estate Kickstart. I'm extremely proud of it. And the biggest question that get asked all the time from people is the generic question of, how do I get started? How do I get started? How do I get started? So when I put this together, I just present my life. So it's basically a short biography of my life, of how I get started. And what we do is I go from the beginning to the end, from the mindset to the team building, to the fortitude that you need, to the process, to how you control the people that work for you, et cetera, to the end goal, which the end goal should be for every investor, passive income. So that I'm really, really proud of that. And then the other one I'm extremely proud of is called the Flips to Profits Mastermind. It's a 5-week training, intense training. I show up for every one of them. There's no bait and switch. There's no, hey, I'm going to give you this and then something else pops up. I'm going to be there 150% for those people that are with me. You're going to have my direct phone number. I'm very easy to get in contact with. That goes for both of the training, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm very proud of the mentees that have trusted me. I tell them all the time. I tell you all the time, everybody, it means so much to me. It means more to me than you think. For everybody that's on the social media world, I can't thank you enough. for believing in me and wanting to spend time with me, investing your time and energy and even money with me. I don't take this lightly.
Yeah.
I don't take this lightly.
One of the things that I love about you, and I feel like this is obviously related to your students, is that you truly do care. Because people that don't care say you can make millions of dollars in real estate, just buy whatever you want, you know. And you're willing to talk about the hard stuff of like, hey, maybe it's not a good time right now. Just go back to work and make some money, you know. Like,
I'll tell.
I love that.
I tell it to them, and I tell everybody, you're always gonna get the good, the bad, the ugly of real estate with me. You're always gonna get. I'm never gonna lie to you. I'd much rather give you a hard truth than a sweet lie. I will never lie to you. And I tell people, there's plenty of other people you can go to that'll give you the roses, the butterflies, and everything. Go to them. That's not me. You want to get prepared for what's happening because these two guys know where the market is going. And if you're not prepared, you out of here. So if you want to get prepared, I'm one of the few people out here that got the capability of doing it, and I'm not gonna fail you. I'm not gonna fail you. Just don't fail yourself. I can end one thing if I may. I always say all the time in life, and let's talk about real estate. I say the majority of you people will do absolutely nothing. I don't know who. Just make sure it ain't you.
I love that.
Where people find out more about you, your mentorships, all that good stuff.
You could go to my website, www.atmybest197.com, and then you could also go on all social media platforms at the word at ATM as in Mary YBEST 197. You could catch me on all platforms with that name as well.
What does that mean to you? What's at my best 197?
Great question. I always try to be at my best at all times. And the 197 is to pay homage to my childhood because 197 is the street that I grew up on in Hollis, Queens. Hollis, Queens is famous because I'm sure you've heard of Run DMC, the famous rap group Run DMC. When my parents bought our home, moving from the projects, the home that they were buying was DMC from Run DMC's home.
Really?
Yeah, that's still the same home that my parents own today. So to pay homage to that, I added the 197 to the end of the name. So that's how that name came up.
I love it.
Great question.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you for bringing that up because I really haven't get a chance.
I've always
to
wondered.
tell
I
people.
followed you forever, and I've always wanted to ask you that.
I really do. And I just wanted to say, I know we're going to then, if there's anything I could do for you guys on any level, I'm not looking for nothing. If there's anything that I could do that we can just help to move the culture of brothers and sisters that are coming in this space, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, that needs the assistance, even if it's just because they're looking to buy their primary residence for their family. Because not everybody wants to be investors. They just want to buy a home that they can raise their family in. If there's anything I could do for you guys, I'm just 2 flights away. It'll be a pleasure to come back and assist you guys in any ways. And I also want to tell you guys, thank you so much for sharing your platform with me. And Brandon, you changed my life.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Can I share the story real quick?
Hopefully in a good way.
Extremely good way.
My life sucks because of you.
When you was on another platform,
Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets.
We can talk about
Thank
that.
you. All right, I just want to be respectful. Bigger Pockets, I love you guys.
I love Bigger Pockets.
I love you guys.
I love it.
But when you was on Bigger Pockets, it was almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
And that was the transition of me figuring this business out.
Oh, no way, man.
And what happened, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. When I came back with the loss, you was doing a webinar. And you were doing a webinar, and your webinars were extremely good, and you did tests and question tests. And I watched the webinar, and I had my notepad, and I told the story that I had shut everybody down in my house. I said, don't bother me. I'm about to do this webinar. This guy, Brandon, is going to be on this webinar. I'm going to watch him. And I took my notepad, and I said that every question that he asked, I'm going to test myself. And I'm going to write down the answer and see how I do. So here you are, we're doing the webinar's a good hour or so, and every question you asked, I wrote it down and I got it. Every question you asked, you got it. My brother, I was jumping in my house. I had tears in my eyes. I'm not even exaggerating. If anybody think I'm playing, I had tears in my eyes. I said, I got it. I knew I could do this. That's changed my life.
Dude, I love that.
So I thank you for that because you really changed my life, and then it had me off and running. So thank you so much.
Thanks,
for that.
man. I love hearing that. I did not know that.
Definitely, absolutely, man. But thank you.
Well, thank you. Dude, this has been an amazing show. Absolutely love this. Excited to get this thing out and excited to read your book. So
Oh, appreciate that. I can't wait to give it to you guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, my man. Thank you, man.
And that, my people, is the show. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the insights from the episode. And hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this episode or you enjoy the show in general, please consider leaving us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We really do value your feedback, and we read your comments to make future decisions about topics and guests and everything else. Plus, it helps us reach more people the more reviews we have. And last but not least, please head over to social media and consider friending, following, subscribing, and all that stuff to both Better Life at Better Life over on Instagram and my own personal at Beardy Brandon for more. That's Beardy with a Y at the end of it, Beard with a Y, Brandon on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere else. Thanks again for listening. I am honored that you would bring me along on your journey to building wealth without losing your soul. This show has been a production of the Better Life Tribe, copyright 2024. Our producer is Kevin Leahy with Podcast Point Man. Our videographer and all-around talented video guy, Carson Smith. My co-host is the amazing Cam Cathcart with DealFlowRealEstate.com. And finally, this show has been all about living a better life. But if you want my spiritual answer to what it takes to live not only a better life, but the best life, head over to abetterlife.com/best life. I got a 13-minute special video for you there. For the Better Life Tribe, my name is Brandon Turner, signing off.